Hello, everyone. Again, welcome to the Coaches Huddle 831 podcast. I'm really excited about our guests, but like always, we always talk about the emphasis of our podcast, and that's to get the experiences and the knowledge of our local football coaches and others, and give them the opportunity to share their experiences and the wealth of knowledge. And also, this podcast is always dedicated in the memory of Anthony Cotty, my brother, my coach, my compadre. All right, so I'm really excited about our next guest. Coach Mike Rasmussen was born June 18th, 1950, in Decatur, Illinois. He was the head coach of St. Mary's College in California from 1990 to 99 and Monterey Peninsula College from 2001 to 2019. He also coached at Michigan State, Chico State, Hawaii, Bowling Green, Stanford, Fresno State, and Cal. He played collegiately at Michigan State, but before that, he started off at Fresno City as a quarterback. He played semi-professionally for the Lansing All-Stars of the Midwest Football League following his graduation. He spent 19 years as the head coach at Monterey Peninsula College, home of the Lobos. Coach Raz is the second winningest coach in MPC history with 118 victories, and his teams won a total of 7 conference championships. He is also a member of the California Community College's Football Hall of Fame, where he was inducted as an All-State quarterback at Fresno City College, where his teams won 2 state championships. One of his players was quoted as saying, "Raz was the coach and the man that all of us needed. He led by example. He expected the same from every guy and never put anything above the team. Everything he asked of us, he put double," said former MPC player Jake Blackwell. And speaking to other former players, they repeat that same sentiment. Under Coach Rasmussen's guidance, more than 300 of his athletes went on to play to 4 universities and schools. Even more graduated. Coach, let's talk about that. You had mentioned one of your former players, Terry Pohl. Can you kind of give me a little bit of background about his story, Coach?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you, Jesse, for the opportunity to be here and connect. I'm very detached, retired now 6 years, and love retired life. Certainly was passionate and blessed to coach for as long as I did. And the 831 community of coaches I love. And it's super that you're connecting and offering this. I hope I can contribute. And again, I just have a great feeling of our community of football coaches here. So thank you again. Terry is a great success story. There's probably none greater for us, and that's the payday in coaching. And Terry came to us, did not play his senior year in high school at Seaside, got in some trouble, finished at the Monterey County Office of Education, came to us. He actually wanted to play basketball, and Coach Spearing wouldn't let him come out because he was too late. And so we were second choice, and came into my office. I had no idea who the 6'5", 300-pound young man was, and so Terry joined our football team. He had more bumps in the roads, and we stayed the course with him. His first year, he didn't finish the year. He got into some trouble about mid-year and came back his second year under very strict guidelines. And that's what the young man needed. He needed the structure and the love and support. And he was always good, solid academically, and that was a great redeeming quality. He was basically a good heart, a good soul, and in the right environment, he did well. He graduated, he got a scholarship, was recruited, went to San Diego State, redshirted there, and played 2 years. I was the captain, San Diego State captain, as an offensive lineman, and then got drafted by the Seattle Seahawks. And I think he played 10 years professionally with several NFL teams, and then played in the USFL even until maybe a couple of years ago. And then, he got his master's in counseling and got hired at Rancho Cielo. He has a great position working with the young people at Rancho Cielo. So you talk about a reason why we get into coaching and education, and Terry's so appreciative. That's the great thing. He has all of these lessons stored up, and now he can really produce some great things with the people he's working with.
Well, you talked in our conversations. You talked about that, right? You know that. Well, you talked about that one word that a lot of people cringe, the discipline, right? And that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But it really is about providing those examples to a lot of people that maybe those ideas aren't reinforced. And I think, and like players like Terry, that mattered, right?
I think from my perspective, you're coaching the good guys. You're talking when Terry Poole or whoever it is thinks that he is different, that the rules don't apply to him. That's fine if he's not there. We're fine without him. And you're talking like a family, and you have to start with a foundation of care. And if your team members basically foundationally know that the coach and we care for them as people, we can be as direct as we want to be, and they take it the right way. Mm-hmm. It's when you come across as an authoritarian instead of being authoritative. And so for Terry, everybody knew Terry. And if he was treated differently, the other 60, 70 members of the team that are doing the right thing, and not that Terry wasn't doing the right thing all the time because he did a lot of good, but when I think of those situations, I care more about the good guys and fostering their goodness and their commitment. And if I water that down for the good people on your team, then just to appease or take the easy road with a discipline issue, and if you have a football team with however many guys you got, 60, 70, 80, 90, you're going to have a discipline issue, quote unquote, every day, and they're all watching. And actions speak louder than words. We can say one thing and that means nothing. And then we transition into what's really important is creating a culture of, hey, I love this program. I love it. And we learned how to train and develop those feelings, which was revitalizing for me after so many years in coaching, and to actually teach how to love and teach how to care and be unselfish and train it, and without me giving a speech, because my speeches are meaningless. So all of those episodes to create a culture of that, here's the standard, none of us are perfect, and at the end of the day, it should be a joyful, happy, productive feeling. And most young people as parents or coaches don't appreciate it at the moment, and then they look back 5-10 years later and they get it. Yes. And we have to be stay the course and be loving. You're not loving if you take the easy course.
It's amazing you say that, because in this process of interviewing different coaches, that's an important thing that a lot of them talk about. Relationship driven and in love. Love is an important thing. And it should be at the center of all that we do. But you also talked about culture, and we're going to talk a little bit about culture later on in this interview. But I have to give you your flowers still. I was still doing your bio, so I'm going to finish up, and then we're going to get to that part as well. So Coach Raz spent a total of 48 years on the sidelines, and his last year before retiring, he went out in style by leading MPC to a 10-1 record and a victory over Cabrillo College in the Living Breath Bowl. So I wanted to give you your flowers and mention that point. So again, it is a great honor to have Coach Raz on the Coaches Huddle 831 podcast. Welcome, Coach. Just wanted to get that out of the way. So the first question, Coach, and the one that I enjoy asking, outside of football, what is something you are passionate about, Coach?
Well, my faith is number one, and growing in that area that doesn't take the form of any doctrine or whatever. It's just how I and we live our lives, and every day seeking that and seeking the right inner goodness and feelings, and so I'm passionate about that, and I think that's how we're all wired in education, I hope. And so I have many activities. I love coaching. I did it for quite a while. I could have retired. I coached until I was 70, and could have retired financially. I make more money retired than I did when I was working. So the last 5 or 6 years, going to work every day was, I was doing it because I loved it. And why did I love it was, one, obviously the passion for football and all of its, components that go into the great game of football, but also the things we're talking about, where I think the longer we do it, the winning takes care of itself if we do the right things, and we impact young people with the right culture, the right environment. And in today's world, it's really needed for all of us. And we say, young people, but all of us old people and whatever, we live in a world of cell phones and media. And I used to use the term, how do we, when we come on campus here to MPC and we come in the gym and the weight room and the football office, and we enter in what I call the Holy Church of the Lobo, how do we become a different person? All of a sudden, we've spent 18 hours about ourselves, and I'm supposed to flick a switch and become unselfish as a football player and as a teammate. And so as a coach, and over the years, to be real. And how can I develop, how can I train those traits? And so I hope you sense my passion about coaching.
Your purpose.
Yes.
I feel the purpose coming.
And if you get me talking about culture and all that, we could go for quite a while. But, being retired is a lot of fun. I thought I would really miss coaching. I worried about it. And the 2019 season, it was right before COVID. No one knew about COVID. We had not just a great winning year, but the chemistry on the football team and the coaches, and it was really super. And I felt in my heart that finally that was the right time to retire. And I say this in the right way. I don't miss coaching. I love the players. I love the on-the-field coaching. It was all of the grind of recruiting and academics and all the off-the-field stuff that a head coach in particular has to do. So, I'm blessed. I play golf. I grow grapes and make wine. I live in Carmel Valley. Fitness is important. I play pickleball. I have a 106 year-old mom that I'm the advocate for. So that's
Shout out mom.
That's a daily labor of love. And so again, I count my blessings every day.
Amen, Coach. Thank you. So, first tell me about how you got involved in sports growing up. What was like life like, living in Decatur, and then you had mentioned also being a coach's son as well.
Yeah, my dad, my dad and mom were both World War II veterans. They were in the Navy, met in the Navy, and they were both from Illinois and stationed down in Miami. And when they got married, they moved back to Illinois. My dad had his degree and he got into coaching. He was a high school football coach in the state of Illinois for 20 years and moved around. We didn't really live in Decatur. I think that's where I was born. And moved to California at an early age for me. My dad and mom, we moved to Central California, to Dinuba, and then moved to Fresno. And I went to Fresno High because my dad taught there and was a counselor, and grew up in Fresno. Yeah. And the football side of it, I have two older brothers who, were, my big brothers, right? And everything they did, I was going to do. And so it just, that sort of environment. And in those days, maybe, or whenever, if you rolled the ball out, we would have a blast playing ball.
Yeah, it didn't matter. As long as it was the ball, we would.
Ball in a bat or whatever.
Yes. It was amazing. I have fond memories of losing one ball. I went down a hill or a ditch, and then what else do we have? We changed the game and do something else. I'm pretty sure similar experience for you as well. So in regards for football, you had mentioned your position primary was as a quarterback. That's a deep passion for me. The development and the whole science, right, behind quarterbacking. How was that, and how has you seen that kind of grow, to where now it's just an amazing process, right? And everything's, what's old is new and new and old, right? It's still about the position and being able to do it successfully. What are your feelings about that, Coach?
Well, that's a great question. I think there's a reality to coaching the quarterback about what shows up on game day. And having coached, the good and bad of my coaching career, of things that are effective and not effective. And we just learned by experience. And what is it that we do in practice that really translates to a quarterback playing on game day? And there's very little at times. And so my career, and I'm a kinesiologist. I was a business major in college, went back and got a master's in physical education, started that at Michigan State where I took kinesiology, and the instructor was pitching for the Dodgers, Mike Marshall. And he was a Michigan State graduate, working on his doctorate, believe it or not. He won the Cy Young Award as a reliever. This is back in 1973. And Mike Marshall was one of the very, very first educators who took high-speed film of all body movements, whether it's throwing, batting, kicking. It was fascinating to see all of the myths that I was coached and that are out there in quarterbacking and how to throw got totally eliminated by actual film. It was 16 millimeter high-speed film showing how to throw. And it was so interesting. Mike brought in major league pitchers on film, and he had a over-the-hand Sandy Koufax, and then you would have the Saberhagen, the submariner, and the fundamental structures were exactly the same. So what an eye-opening revolution, and getting rid of the myths of quarterbacking and throwing that I had been taught myself, because people didn't simply know, and the science of it. And then you translate into game day. And 7-on-7 doesn't make you better as a quarterback. Routes against air don't make you better as quarterback. You play quarterback with your feet and your eyes. If you come to me at a certain level, college level, I already know that you can throw the football. You did it in high school, and prescriptively, I might say make 1 point to make you better. And then, but the drill work, everything we did drill-wise was developing our eyes and our feel, and everything, just about every individual drill we did had a pass rusher. So now you are now incorporating even something like a one-on-one drill during practice, and we put our O-line, D-line pass rush in the middle of it. And that's real quarterbacking. So then now you're training for game day. And so that was a mission of developmental things that I grew into, and I wasn't going to waste our time on just cardio activity with the quarterback, because that's all it was. It wasn't making him a better player on game day.
Yes. I think it resonates with me because it really is building those, simulating those game day situations, right? Those game day decisions. So, and it's become consistent and repetitive, right? You know, and it's they're able to self-diagnose and self-evaluate and self-react to things because they've been in those situations.
Yeah.
You know, they've practiced them.
And a biggie and it's eyes down the field. Okay, and what are you seeing? You play quarterback with your eyes, and you play with your feet. And I'm going to say over half, maybe way over half of plays in a game are off a reset. So why not structure a rush, a reset, a target with eyes down the field the whole time? And for me, that's so developmental and made us better.
You mentioned reset, but is that the same thing as saying, you know, now with the quarterback position on the athleticism, the focus, it's innovation, right, or quick decision making on the fly?
I don't. You know, it's a great topic actually, because I grew up. We won 2 state championships at Fresno City. Our head coach, Claire Slaughter, who's an awesome football coach and person, was friends with the head coach, John Ralston, at Stanford, and they made a decision to go with Jim Plunkett at quarterback and change their offense to a drop back passing game, and had great success. 2 Rose Bowls, the 2 years there.
Heisman Trophy winner as well.
And we ran that offense. So the background of quarterbacking and offensive systems are very sound passing, believing in the passing game. We won our first state championship, and we had 2 drop back passes, 2 plays, 2. We won the second one, and we added the 3rd play, and that was it. And that says a lot. Take what they give you, put the tag on it. So I bring that up because the vision starting there, and Michigan State was not a great place for a quarterback in passing, and it was great in a lot of other ways. And then I fortunately got into coaching and grew up. When I was at Fresno State, we were very connected with Don Coryell and the San Diego Chargers with Dan Fouts. Learned that system. We ran the same offense at Fresno State. We also became very close to Bill Walsh and the 49ers, which he was so innovative in terms of, and that was the first progression into footwork timing, that the ball's out. You don't allow your quarterback to hold the football. And so then your pass rush is done.
Right.
Well, it's all, you know, you're releasing the football based on, and eyes down the field. If it's a 5-step timing and you know where you're looking and going based on coverage, you deliver the ball, and your feet are your clock. And then we transition into where we are today, where very few people teach any kind of footwork timing. because it's a athletic type of thing, avoiding, running around, and it's just kind of. And I still believe there's a clock in the feet. If you and
Well,
get
there's
the
got to be
ball out.
that sense of urgency, right?
Yeah, urgency is a rush.
Yeah.
You never are rushed
Yes.
if you're in sync with your footwork. If you're throwing the ball on 5 and a hitch, or 7-step drop, then you don't have to worry about the rush. And if you understand pre-snap read and anticipate, and you've done your study, and you know if it's man or zone, or what combination coverage and where you're going first, you get the ball out of your hand.
Yep.
And so that's still, and maybe someday that'll come back. Who
Well,
knows?
Coach, I'm in the same boat as you. I personally believe in that. I always talk 1.3 to 1.8 seconds, right? And at least in the way we do it in the pistol or the shotgun, where your footwork's limited, so it better be right, and so I definitely agree with you. There's got to be that sense of timing, that sense of relationship with the receivers, and everything has to go together, and it has to be not perfect, but it has to be where it's effective. They say that there's 3 things that can happen when you throw the ball, and 2 of them aren't good, right?
Well, that's what Duffy Doherty used to say, and I would argue with him every day.
Right on. So, Coach, getting into coaching, what were some of your influences? Your mentors, or those individuals that really made an impact on your life as a coach.
Well, I think certainly my father, right, and being in that environment, and then family environment, and then my high school coach, Vance Stanley, who we lost a few years ago. Couldn't have been a more impactful person to myself and all of my teammates. And it's kind of what we all aspire to. Can we create that feeling? Do our players have that feeling that I had about my coach? Mm-hmm. And how do we develop that? How do we do that? And so Coach Stanley, Coach Slaughter, Fresno City, Duffy Doherty was an iconic football coach at Michigan State, a wonderful human being, and he was so helpful, instrumental in my coaching career. And and then moving through my career, probably I've worked for several different head coaches, and Jim Sweeney at Fresno State was the first head coach that taught me how to teach. The difference between having knowledge, and a lot of coaches have knowledge, and being a teacher. And how do you actually teach on the field that translates into game day, that carries over into game day. He could coach, and that was just how he was wired. He was a tough, old school guy that was merciless at times, but as a teacher of everything, culture, attitude, every position, fundamentally, we broke it down. How do we teach, like what we're talking about, quarterback footwork? How do we teach drive blocking? And demanded the coaches be teachers. And I had worked for several other head coaches, and I had no idea what a teacher was. And there's a real difference. There's a lot of coaches, and not many of them are good teachers. And so I aspire for that, and break it down into something that's real, what carries over, what really makes our players better. So those are probably, and then, I have to mention Lyndon Schutzler here, the former AD at Monterey Peninsula College. I've worked in different cultural universities and colleges, culture. He's the best in creating the ambiance of MPC in our department. We've all worked in places where there's weak leadership, and that's a hard place to work. And you're making a hard job harder. Lyndon was, and we play golf and stay good friends. He is excellent.
Nice, Coach. So, in focusing on your coaching, what are some of your non-negotiables, things that you had to have in order to be successful?
Well, I think that's a vast answer, but the things that come to mind are being unselfish. Football's a team game, and I would assess every person in the whole team every day. I would look them in the eye, and I can intuitively, are you bought in? Is there something that I can help you with? Because maybe there's something off the field, and that's transformational, not transactional, where you cross the line and say, hey, maybe you got a family problem, and that's why you're tuned out. How can I help you? And would you make a home run there? Yeah. And not that we can all do things better, but so I'm going to protect the good guy. Okay, and we work backwards from winning. And winning is a target. It doesn't define who we are. It's simply a target. And performance is a target. It doesn't define who we are as people. Who we are as people is what counts. Yeah. And so we work backwards. Why did we win that championship? And at any level, any person involved with sports can say that. Anyone. I would have once a year, twice a year, whatever. I would say, hey, here's our target. It's the level we aspire to and the standard of our daily work. And how many people in the room have won a championship? And maybe half the room would raise a hand. Mm-hmm. I mean, our first championship year in 2004. Monterey High School was 0-20. The guys that played at Monterey High and came here hadn't won a football game in 2 years. And for them to go 10-1 and win a NorCal championship, it was like life-changing in how they saw things. And so why did we win? And the answer to that question is, at any level, any sport, is we cared. We were unselfish. We cared about the team. We cared about each other. And so, it wasn't about, you have to have a minimum level of talent. Talent sets your floor. Character sets your ceiling. So we won because we cared every day. And so how do we teach that? How do we develop that? And instead of just preaching about it. So we do things, and I could get into it. I mentioned off microphone here that I put together a culture building manual at no cost. You can have it from me. It's 115 pages. I can digitally email it to anybody, which I have quite a few.
Okay. We will put Coach's contact information if anybody's interested.
Yeah, and I'm happy to share. And there's not a lot of narrative to that, mm-hmm. but I'm available.
Thank you.
Okay, for good or bad.
Thank you.
And so anyway, hopefully I'm not dragging your question out, but working backwards, how do we develop those feelings? And that's the non-negotiable. It starts with, this is a team sport, and our target is championship. And why do we win championships? Is because we love each other. And then we will get into defining love. How many times do men and young men have a conversation about love? And all of what that comes out of me, I've gotten from other coaches that have done this. Okay, same type of thing. And very little of it's original. Yeah. So we go over how the Greeks define culture or love. Okay, you have eros, which is sexual love. You have familia, which is community, family, and we have agape, sacrificial. Okay, so football is sacrificial, and every team in America says we're family. Are we really? If you're truly my brother, I'm going to sacrifice for you. I have 2 older brothers, 2 sisters. I'm not going to let them screw up. They call, I'm there. No questions asked. Is that the kind of love we have for each other, or is it social? Is it familia? And you can have all of it, but let's be real. Let's talk about what it takes in a true family feeling about our team culture. Culture is, we articulate it, it's all in the manual, we write it up, we have it in a written form. But culture is about, the definition of culture for me is, what do people say when they're away from us? What do our young people, our coaches, when they're out in the parking lot, when they're at home, and they talk about me, or they talk about their team, what's it sound like? And that's real. Okay? And nothing's perfect, but to think we're preaching and got a culture, that's not it. It's about how do you truly in your heart feel? What do you say about your team? And how do we develop that? How do we develop these relationships?
My mom used to always say, it's not what you do when I'm there with you, it's how you represent us when I'm not there, right? And how you think about it, the decisions you make and how they affect others. Right?
Exactly.
And that's always resonated to me, even now. And and it's important that you're mindful of that, right? That who I represent now. I represent my school. I represent my obviously my family and my kids and my spouse. But it's being mindful of that and reminding yourself. I think it helps us build into the people that we want to strive to be. And we want others to strive to be as well. So great point.
No, I would add a little bit. So what do you? So an example of that might be a real example. Daily going out to practice in the locker room, coaches aren't there, and some guy says, "I don't want to go to practice. Why are we doing this? Why are we working so hard?" And so how do our other players respond to that? And if they don't respond, then that negativity owns the team.
Yes.
And it has an influence of whatever degree. It has an influence. So if our good players, committed players, leaders will say, hey, just what we got to do. If you have an issue, go to coach. And hopefully we have created an avenue to talk and dialogue. And then, or tell me, and I'll go to coach. But don't bring us down. Yeah. And we have a continuum arrow. And, we had an experience here, I forget what year it is, where our team captain was our most negative guy. And I couldn't solve it. And it got us beat. I mean, just one guy. And he was popular, good guy, negative. And that gets you beat. So we found a continuum arrow that defines where are you. Just because you're on this football team doesn't mean you're bought in. You may be my friend, but you may be getting our football team beat. And you don't know it, and there's no way to expose that. Well, now we have it. We had an arrow, a red going left or a green going right, and where does each individual fit on the continuum arrow of bought in? And so what that tool does, it gives the good guy a definition of, hey, you're getting us beat. As much as I think, you're my friend, and your negativity is transmitting into our football team, and we're killing ourselves every day to go achieve our goals. And there's a reality, so now we have, and then you have to develop how to say that in a good way, how to have good relationships with your teammates, so you can say that. We had a real situation in 2008. We were undefeated, and playing De Anza here at home. They were undefeated. Tough game. Thursday of game week, our two captains come in. To me, it's like 2 o'clock, and right before meetings, and they say, "Hey, coach, there's some negativity in the locker room. We need to address this because these guys are going to get us beat, and we're undefeated." So we went in the meeting room. We closed the door. We said, "We're not doing football. This is a town hall meeting. Speak up." And the guys were silent at first, and then the captain stood up and said, "Hey, you guys are saying this, Now's your opportunity to speak up. And it was so effective, and they did. And I'm not afraid. I don't do this for myself. I'm doing it to help coach and help the young people attain their goals. So they had some good points. It's kind of a hard decision to make as a coach. It was such good dialogue where, always the big complaint with an old school coach is too much contact, too much, we're beat up or whatever. And they have a very valid point. And I told them that. But, it's kind of hard to be prepared or be fresh. And and in today's world, that's really changed over years, to an area of, being fresh, don't get injured in practice, all those things. But the sense of the town hall, team hall meeting was fabulous. We beat De Anza, went undefeated, won the bowl game, and had those two captains not done that, come in, and because I didn't know. So that's kind of the goal, to create that sort of team environment.
Advocacy within, right? Within the
and leadership development. There were years, how do you develop leadership? And I got this from Urban Meyer at Ohio State when he was there. They won national championship. They had 10 teams within the teams. And he said, and then they had a captain for every team. Well, we did that. We did this, I don't know, the last 10 or 12 years that I was at MPC. We would have you had to apply to be a captain. Real simple application. I want to be a captain. I would even read it to the team. Some of the applications were so good. And now you have 8 individuals that are selected to lead their team. Their team might have 8 or 9 guys on their team. We'd have a draft. We'd have a lottery pick to see, okay, we got our 8 captains up in the front of the team room, and we'd have a lottery which team gets the first pick. And the competition was solely off the field, not athletic.
So it had nothing to do with positions.
Nothing.
It was just wow.
So now you've got 8 guys leading 8 more other guys. They're all learning about each other. And in junior college football, it's such a hard thing because you only have one group for 5 months. How do you really truly develop these relationships? And we'd have fun. We'd play Jeopardy. We'd play whatever, play a game. And there were point getters. And this is all in the culture building manual that I have, so it's all accessible. But so the developmental thing, when we did academic grade checks, I had the captains administer that. They would hand them out. They'd collect them from their teammates. And if one of their guys didn't turn in their grade check, the whole team was in trouble. And so now you're developing 8 guys, at least, that are learning how to be comfortable with leading, how to say things. We would have speakers of the day. The 2 topics that we had, and these were all point getters. I could get 100 points for my team by being speaker of the day. The 2 topics were, who's the most influential person in my life, or what does Lobo football mean to me? And you talk about, and it's not, I don't pick them. They'd come up to me before like a weight room lift and say, Coach, I want to be speaker of the day. And they'd talk for 2 minutes, 3 minutes about, man, my mom or my dad. And boy, you talk about learning about and developing this feeling for people. So that's those are examples of things that work, not speeches.
Well, that's it builds that accountability, right? And then those are 2 things that when you were talking, I was thinking is there's that accountability, and it also builds that peer-to-peer community building, right? Where they are responsible for each other.
Build trust.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And again, it goes and how to be a brother.
Yes.
Right? I mean, and again, it goes back to, we're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to say the wrong thing, whatever. But at least we have a connection.
Yeah. Before I understood its origin, one of the quotes that I coached by was, iron sharpens iron, right? My best gets your best.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's important, right? To be able to to challenge each other in a positive way and in a competitive way, because that builds that culture that we want, right? Where everybody's striving for something more than just instant gratification.
Yeah,
right?
the winning, like I said, the scoreboard takes care of itself. And if we, in the first meeting every year, okay, I'll talk to the team and I'll be straight up, why are you here? Why are you here? And you need to know that and it make your life better. Get a job, have an education. My definition of a happy life is doing something for a living that you love.
Amen.
Okay, and then why am I here? Okay, for you, and my goal for you is that you walk away and you say after the fact, man, I love that football team. I love that MPC team. That was a great, joyful experience.
Those are lifelong memories, right?
And there are a lot of bad ones out there too. That if you don't foster,
we learn from those, right?
Yeah, but that's culture too.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, here we go.
No. Thank you for those points, Coach. Those were something to resonate on, right? And really important keys. But before we finish up this interview, I wanted to talk to you about the current state of the game, especially with NIL. And what your feelings are about that?
Well, I wish I was born 50 years later.
True.
But I wasn't. And so the perspective, I don't mind the money. As an athlete on scholarship at Michigan State, we were not allowed to work during the year. We had no money. We had our room and board, our books, and our fees paid for. There was no money, and it was against the rules to work. So we had to work a summer job, make some money, which we did. Okay. So, and the university's making millions of dollars, and coaches are making crazy amount of money. So the money doesn't bother me as much, and I don't know how you deal with, the personalities. The worst part is the portal transferring where there's no commitment. I'm not starting this week, so I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And that is, and I have to believe that will have some legislation where you have some sense of commitment, and that's the crazy part. And I talk to coaches, and they can't explain it. I talk to Division I coaches, and they call it a beast, and it's crazy. I mean, MPC here had a receiver, from what I understand, go to Washington State and had an NIL for $400,000. I mean, for a young guy who's probably 20 years old and life-changing.
Yes,
absolutely. But so those are the issues. Is the tail wagging the dog? It's justified in some respects because I grew up in the entire gamut of 50 years of kind of, the universities are making big money. They're using your name, image, likeness, or whatever. But the worst thing is the portal and transferring and that thing.
Yeah, it remains to be seen how that beast is going to be tamed, right?
Yeah.
But hopefully, reasonable minds will prevail, right?
Yeah.
So, Coach, a couple final questions. You are known to have these Raz quotes, right? Your players always talk about them. What is a thought or a quote that you want to leave with our listeners?
Well, everybody, the mantra and the sign on the wall in the office for 20 years that guys I think resonate with, and I don't believe in signs. I don't believe in sayings until the timing's right, and if the timing's right, it hits home. I don't think you just blanket some guy with whatever. And again, there's so many locker rooms and offices you walk into that says all these great words, and they're not even close to being that. Okay, so it's more being real. I think my players would tell you, and it's a Chuck Knox quote, the
Seattle Seahawks.
Seattle Seahawks, ground Chuck, and then he coached the Buffalo Bills with O.J. Simpson and those guys, and he ran the football, and his quote as a Seahawks coach was, "Don't tell me how rough the waters are, just bring the ship in." And so
I've heard that one.
if any of those guys out there, I think they would.
Translate that? I kind of have an idea. Translate what that.
Don't give me an excuse.
Yes.
Just bring the ship in.
Get it done. Right.
Don't worry about the weather. You're going to find an excuse. The weather, the whatever, the this and that was wrong. Find a way to get it done. Okay, and focus on getting it done rather than all of the things you can't control.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Like the water, the storm and the water.
You only can fix what you can control, right? Or you can do.
Yeah.
So, is there anything that you would like to talk about, Coach, that you'd like to share?
No, I think we touched on it. I think just from a football standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, in a team, and Bob Lattiser said this up at De La Salle when I was at St. Mary's. We're Christian Brothers connection, and Coach Lattiser, and he made a statement that hit home with me that said, everybody asks us what's our secret, what's our this and that, and I was fairly close, and we'd get De La Salle players at St. Mary's. And he said, you really need to be with us every day for a year before you figure it out. And that's really the case. It's an everyday deal. I mean, what are you addressing? How are you creating something that's going to add value to your players? That's kind of, if you said that to yourself every day, what can I do to add value to your life? And so, that sort of thing. And then look at how to make things better. We learn from our losses more than our wins, and it stings, and it's probably shouldn't be that way, to dwell on. But why did we that team captain that was the negative guy that got us beat whatever year that was, and we resolved it. It was at a clinic, like right after the season, National Coaches Convention. I listened to this guy talk about building a culture, and he had the continuum arrow, and if we had that, we could have really gotten to the truth with our players and our teammates, and had them see the truth of this guy's getting us beat, and we need to fix it or get rid of it.
It's a lot of times it's not the X's and O's, right?
And that's the and it goes back to what Don James, the old coach at the University of Washington, and he was a great influence to me because I worked with several guys that coached under him, and he started. Nobody went to Washington; they never really won a Rose Bowl, never went, and he did what he called possibility thinking. What's possibility? We are going to win the championship. I mean, there's some high school programs that have never won a championship and never think they will. Well, how do you change that? And so sit down and list it. What is it that we can do? What's the possibility? Well, hey, we cannot fumble. We can really coach ball security. We can coach tackling. We can coach playing hard. And then, if we did those things, the scoreboard is going to take care of itself. We're not going to beat ourselves. So that's kind of, and we could talk forever, and I'm happy to do this.
No, I feel a second part to this interview coming along. But again, I'd like to thank Coach Rasmussen for joining us today for this very insightful, very wonderful talk. About football and about his experiences and really about his philosophy, not just necessarily about football, but just about life. I think that you mentioned Coach Lattiser, he cared more than just about the football player, right? And I get the sense that you do too, right? Because, like you said, most of our lives, most of our time in the day, we're more than football players, right? And, these students like myself, might not get it at that point, but hopefully they finally get it, which was my case with some of my mentors and some of the lessons that I learned through football. So I appreciate you as a coach, and thank you so much. Again, we will definitely get a second interview in, a second part, and maybe talk a little bit more about other topics, especially the idea about quarterbacking, which is something that I really enjoy. But this is the end of our podcast. Again, I'd like to thank you, Coach.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. Thank you for having me.
No, I appreciate you. It was an honor. Again, like always, go out there, enjoy our game. Not only football, but all the different opportunities you might have out there to see some of our young people, right, at their best on the fields, whether it's the football field, softball, or anywhere. You might connect and you might enjoy it. So again, thank you to all those supporters out there of the Coaches Huddle 831 podcast. And again, look forward to some more great interviews. Thank you. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Jesse.